Well, here we have it. The nightmare film I've danced around doing since HMRG started. Freddy's Revenge is highly regarded as a complete disappointment, and sticks out from the rest so badly some disregard the movie from the series canon almost entirely. But let's review. A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, was a supreme success that took the industry by surprise. Simple idea really, but the story was told so well, and the antagonist was something completely fresh. The success of this obviously brought with it expectations if another movie was to be made. Then Freddy's Revenge came out, the first of many sequels to follow, but it carried with it an entirely different take which broke all the rules of the first movie. But why such backlash? Well, we'll take a look at that in a moment. From there the series carried on despite the disappointment of the second addition to the series. They came roaring back with the third movie, which was a disappointment at the box office considering the success of the first. This was a direct result of the second movie. The fourth movie really speaks volumes for the third movie. Just a short recap on the review I did. It was the highest grossing movie to date for them and is largely considered to be not as strong as Dream Warriors, the third film. Well, if you haven't seen it, this is the spoiler warning. I'm going to briefly go over this film and give you a look at the scenes, and I'll add in my own perspective. I feel that this film was not only unfairly judged, but that's one of the stronger films in the series. Here's A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. At the beginning, the bus driver is actually Robert Englund. Sorry, useless fact. Well, the school bus takes off and Freddy is driving. Opening scene. What's with Jesse? He looks sick. Anyway, it's a nightmare, and it's actually one of the more intense ones I've seen in the series. Freddy's dark and showing off his glove. Wow, that's quite a scream he's got there. The family's nice and the dad's old school, but we meet Lisa, and in case you're thinking she looks familiar, about a decade later she played the librarian Pam on Seinfeld. Kramer went gaga and all that. We meet Ron Grady, who kind of butts heads with Jesse at first, but they become friends. So Jesse enters another dream, and again, I think it has to be one of the more dark encounters with Freddy in the series. He explains to Jesse his purpose.
I need you, Jesse. We got special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body. I've got the brain.
There's this one scene where Jesse falls asleep in class and he freaks out about a snake being on his neck. But how did it get there? Ron didn't put it there. I don't know, just watch it, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. I think the most embarrassing thing is when Jesse is dancing to some pretty, I'll go with lame music, and Lisa and his mom walk in. Although they do come across Nancy's old diary, which will serve to give them clues later on, Jesse finds Kruger's old glove, which is enough to negate Fred was buried in it like in number 3 states. Just to mention a funny scene, check out the scene with Coach Schneider.
Schneider's got a stick up his ass today. Schneider's always got a stick up his ass.
Hello, dirtballs.
Okay, then their bird attacks them and explodes into flames. I really don't know what to make of that scene. Jesse ends up at some gay bar going for a beer, I guess. To tell you the truth, the next 10 minutes just puzzle me. The coach is there in some interesting getup, and he takes Jesse to school and makes him run. Then he gets whipped to death, and yeah, it's just weird, I know. But we do find out that Freddy's using Jesse to kill for him. So after all that, he's returned home by the police, found wandering naked. The dad is kind of a laugh, though.
2 questions. You answer them, we can all go to bed, all right? What are you taking, son? Who are you getting it from?
Jesse returns to school the next morning to see all the police at the school for Schneider's death. This is when Jesse puts the puzzle together. Jesse confronts his dad about the house, which of course he denies. Then the toaster sets on fire, unplugged. I mean, after the bird, clue in, man. Lisa brings him to Freddy's old boiler room, but it really didn't do much. That night, though, Freddy almost gets Jesse to kill his sister, Michael Myers style. So Lisa throws a big pool party. Jesse, though, isn't really into the party. Lisa wants to help him, and I guess what she came up with was, well, put the moves on him. It worked for me. Some freaky tongue thing happens, and Jesse splits to Grady's place. Freddy takes him over, though, and Grady is unprepared. Freddy kills Grady, which is too bad. I like the character. Well, back at the pool party, which looks like an orgy at this point, Jesse is back and confesses killing Grady to Lisa. Well, Jesse turns into Krueger again and battles internally, but spares Lisa. But he goes on to spoil an otherwise pretty rad shindig. Pretty cool, he takes out a few guys, and it's entertaining. Also, the part where he walks through the fence in flames, that's pretty awesome. Lisa gets to the boiler room to find Jesse and Freddy's body. Now, this isn't a dream, so could someone please explain these dogs? Besides the dogs, there's a whole lot of weird stuff that happens in the factory boiler room, and it kind of messes with your perception of what is real. Lisa has a little battle with Freddy, but she takes the same route as Nancy Thompson, turning her back to him and taking away his power. The place goes ablaze, and we are treated to a nice melting show. Kind of like House of Wax, isn't it? Then we see Jesse rise from the ashes and peel away charred Freddy, and that kind of reminds me of the end of Ghostbusters. In the end, they are riding to school in the bus, and we get a cliffhanger ending. Was Freddy still alive? Was it a dream? Well, in the end, who cares, because it never really came into play in any of the sequels. So, it's just a curious ending, and that wraps up the movie. I believe this movie is not only a decent one, but it ranks up there with the original. I understand that people wanted to see what they had warmed up to, but I like the approach that they took. In all the other films, the characters are on the outward, afraid of being sucked inward into their dreams. In this case, Jesse is worried about something coming from the inside into the real world, a complete 180. If anything, this inner battle may strike a chord with people and their own struggle with self-control. I also think the father character is very underrated. Never hear him talked about in a forum or in a review, and I don't know why. He is agitating but hysterical at the same time. The music was different from the other ones, although I do believe you get a 1-2 Freddy's Coming For You briefly. So it does set the background to something a little bit more unfamiliar. There is a slightly more serious tone to this nightmare than the first and the third, and no comparison to the rest. I think the lack of camp is another thing that the newer fans have a hard time to adjust to. And just as a side note, a personal favorite clip is when he wakes up from his dream and finds everything melting. It really sets the atmosphere. So all things considered, I like the attempted new direction, and was fine with the film when I first saw it. I think it's unfairly tossed aside, and if you haven't seen it, check it out and ignore the critics. I think you'll like it. This was Pat for Horror Movie Review Guy. Thanks for watching. Then Freddy's Revenge came out, the first of many sequels. Although they do come across Nancy's old diary, which will serve to give them clues later on, Jesse finds He finds a clue. Well, that's technically true as well.